Hi, I'm Christy Demetrakis, the Empowered Speaker. Over the years, I have coached hundreds of people to become more confident and dynamic speakers. And it doesn't matter whether they are very experienced speakers or whether they are brand new to public speaking. Inevitably, they have some type of sticky situation that they run into, whether while presenting or while preparing to present. And today, I want to cover one of those topics on today's Empowered Speakers Want to Know. Here's the question. When do I take questions? That's a big one. Second only to what do I do if I get asked a question? So when do you take questions? The answer is, it depends. You have the option. You have several options. Your first option is you can establish for people up front that you are going to save time to answer their questions towards the end. So if they would please hold their questions, that would be great. Now, there's a flaw in what I just said. When you ask people to hold their questions, it makes people nervous. It makes people anxious because their fear as listeners, as audience members, is that they're going to forget their question. And they're going to feel like it was a really important question, so I need to ask it now. So here's your workaround. Put Post-it notes by your participants. And at the beginning when you say, hey, we have 30 minutes today. I know I'm going to present lots of great information and you're probably going to have some really great questions. So instead of asking questions in the moment when you think of it, in the interest of time, I would love for you to write down your questions on those Post-it notes that are in front of you so you don't forget. I promise you I will leave time to answer all of your questions. I will tell you that usually works for people because they want to be heard. And as long as you make people feel like they're going to be heard, they are happy to comply. Now, that only works if you do indeed leave time to answer those questions. So that's one. You can establish up front when you're going to answer questions. If you want a more interactive presentation, you have plenty of time, and the questions are not going to derail your time and keep you from accomplishing certain objectives that you need to meet within a certain window of time, you can say at the very beginning, hey, feel free to ask me questions throughout. Throw up your hand, just throw out your question. I'm open, we're flexible. Whichever way you want it to work, I would suggest that you establish that up front. But understand that questions take time. So if you have unlimited amount of time, you have a full day workshop or a 4-hour workshop, having people ask questions whenever they feel like it is probably a good idea to help keep engagement. But if you only have 30 minutes or 15 minutes, I would not recommend opening the door up for questions at any time. Now, you're probably asking me the question, especially if you work in corporate America and there's likely to be some senior level people in the room. Are you telling me, Christy, that you want me to tell my vice president that he or she can't ask me a question whenever they have the question? It depends. It depends. Normally, the answer is no. I would not suggest that. I would suggest that you answer their question when they have it. That's the short answer. That's the good answer. Answer the question when they have it. But as much as you can establish that you're absolutely going to leave plenty of time to answer all questions, that will help you. Okay? And folks will recognize that you are answering the question that the vice president had, but all the same rules that you established earlier still apply for everybody else. And if people forget, other than your vice president, if people forget, gently point them back to those Post-it notes and say, hey, if you could, I'm sure that's a great question, but if you could, write it down on that Post-it note, and I promise you I'm going to leave 5 minutes before I close to be able to answer all your questions. Okay? So those are just some quick tips on how and when to take questions. And the overall answer is, it depends. But I've given you a couple of good scenarios for you to think about. All right, so for more information on how to handle sticky situations, tune in for my next episode of the Empowered Speakers Want to Know. I'll be back because I'm doing what I love. Be sure to leave your comments below and let me know what sticky situations you may have that you want me to answer on video. I'll talk to you soon.